Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of the podcast, Hellhounds Run Rights. Say that 3 times fast because it's a challenge. And not only is this my very first podcast for this channel, it's my very first podcast. So I'm learning. There's going to be glitches, some audio issues, other stuff. On the last take before this, I had my phone go off and I thought I'd muted it. This is like my 8th take just to get this monologue in. So bear with me because I'm learning. And, writing is about growth. Everything is about growth. So why this podcast? I wanted to create a platform somewhere where I could explore writing, especially fiction, though I'll probably get into other things later. The process of writing, the mechanics, the ideas behind it, why we do it, the psychology. There's so much to explore in writing that I don't think anybody touches on. So that's why I'm here. And it's easy to get stuck. But let's dive into one concept that I think's at the core of everything. Why are we writing at all? Now, most people say that the very biggest question authors get is, where do your ideas come from? And that's a great question, and the answer, I think, is universal. We have no idea of where our ideas really come from. I had a dream the other night. Woke me up out of a sound sleep. I rolled over, typed it up in a little text format, and sent it to my fiancée, Scarlett, so that I'd have it for the next day so that I could put it in a Google Doc. 3 a.m, she wakes up, gets ready for work, looks at it, goes, "What is this?" And I have to explain it to her, but she's so used to me doing weird stuff like that, she doesn't really ask too many questions anymore. She is a great partner, and it's amazing. I wouldn't be here. I don't understand technology. I am convinced that computers are Terminators, and they're just waiting to overtake the world. I'm a very old school guy. I'm 47 years old at the time of this recording, and technology is not my friend. We do not get along. So she has been just a total sending of the universe to help me create this and, teaching me about Canva, Adobe, what a Discord is. Who knows at 47, who knows what a Discord is? I mean, come on. So we've created so much, and this is the logical next step. So now that I've gone off on a tangent, you'll notice I do that a lot. The squirrels go bouncy, bouncy all over my head. Where do your ideas come from is not the right question. The right question is, why write at all? And there's a lot of answers, and it's going to be highly subjective. A little bit about me, and to add to credibility. I spent years and years and years as a detention officer, as a sworn deputy sheriff in law enforcement, as a basic EMT, and as a 911 telecommunicator. A few years ago, I went through a really bad divorce, like 5 years bad. Like bankrupt bad. And I had all this PTSD, and I didn't know that it was PTSD. I just thought I was kind of, I don't want to use the word here, but I was not a nice person. And a friend of mine at the time, who was a psychologist, said, "Charlie, why don't you take some of the things that show up in your nightmares, some of the things that bother you the most, those memories, write them down." And I'm like, that's great. And I'll get sued. And it's wonderful. So several of my sergeants through the years and supervisors and stuff who, honestly, I didn't really get along with. I was not cut out for law enforcement. I'm not the kind of guy who likes to go out and hem people up and start trouble. I'm the kind of guy who likes to get along. I think, as a rough estimate, in 12 years of law enforcement, I wrote 3 tickets. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It just wasn't for me. If you did something wrong, I'd take you to jail, but little stuff was little stuff, and I didn't care. So I came up with another idea. I'm sitting here, wake up from another nightmare, cold sweat, screaming the whole 9 yards. Go sit on my couch, pop on some music, because music is an escape for me. I'm a huge, huge music fanatic, by the way. And this story just pops into my head, and it spawned from the nightmare a lot of stuff. You know how your brain will take little segments here and there and push it all together into a nightmare of all the crappiest stuff you've ever seen in life? That was kind of that nightmare. And I came up with this guy, Cygnus Magnus, Cy Magnus, ex-cop. He worked a very traumatic vehicle crash scene and had to leave law enforcement because of it, just couldn't handle it anymore. And since I could really identify with that, and they say, write what you know, over the course of 2 years, I wrote this book called Nihil. It was my first novel. It took forever. It was a difficult thing. I rewrote it like 3 or 4 times. And in the writing, I healed. I started to heal myself. The nightmares became less. The traumas lessened. And the more that I poured of myself into first Nihil and then Gates Redemption, into my poetry book, and into my creepypastas, which have become their own book, and which are also on YouTube. Into all those things, I was not only able to pour the things that hurt my heart the most, that hurt my mind the most, but I was able to kind of create a world where it was safe to be. So my ideas come, and I think most people's ideas come from experience. But I write first and foremost to heal, and then to express myself and to create something new, and to create a healthy, safe space for people to escape to. And I think that's a really good thing. So, why should you listen to me? Well, here's the deal. I've got a CV as long as my arm. I've got experience that no one else needs ever have. Trust me, I've lived it. You don't want the t-shirt and the nightmares that go with it. But I'm also written Nihil, Gates Redemption, Exploits of an Underpaid Supernatural Bartender, a poetry book called From Hell and Back, A Journey from Lost to Love Again, and I'm working on another novel. So I'm not an industry outsider. I'm an indie author who is busting his butt, doing everything he can to grow, to learn. Every novel that I write, every story that I write has to be better than the last. I have to grow. And in that growth, show my writing. Now, people write for a lot of different reasons. Some people just love to create. They've got that vibe. These are the people, probably who live in craft stores and stuff, or, excel on Minecraft like my 13-year-old. One of the biggest drives to write is creative expression. And I want to come back to that for a minute, in just a minute, rather. I think that the need to tell stories is as old as humans. And I've said this before, and I wish somebody, somewhere, if there is like a anthropologist, sociologist out there, please, dear God, do this do a study and have it peer reviewed on the history of storytelling. I want to do it, but I don't know that I'm smart enough. I'm kind of smart, but I don't know if I'm smart enough to do that thing. Storytelling has been around since Ali met Oomp, which is a funny way to say since, at least that we know of, cave paintings, because we have documented cases of cave paintings, thousands and thousands of years old, which is just a way to tell a story. I think that there is an inherent biological need in mankind to tell a story. And I think that drive sits harder with some of us than with others. Sure, we want to be famous. Sure, we want to make millions. I'm sure everybody wants to be the next Stephen King or Neil Gaiman. I'm no exception. Well, actually, I don't. I don't really want to be either of those. I want to be able to live just comfortably enough to be able to afford my house, my land, a dog or two, and not worry about where my next meal's coming from. So I don't know that I want to be as big as those guys. But a lot of people have dreams of that fame and fortune and all that. Not my bag, but hey, go for it. I think that's wonderful for you. But I think that we all have, to one element or another, this need to tell stories, and that comes to creative expression. We need to express ourselves in some form or fashion. I know people who love to craft. I know people, if you hear water pouring, I'm getting me some new tea. I know people who love to craft. I know people who love to create video games. I've got one guy who lives to code, who's a kind of a passing friend of mine, and he thrives on that creation of coding stuff. More power to him. That's awesome. I think it's great. I couldn't do it. I don't have the patience for it. I barely have the patience to write a novel, and it about kills me at that. But there are more reasons to write than that. How about, let's take emotional exploration, which is something I kind of did with Nihil. Exploring your own emotional range in the fictional framework of others. I think that's kind of an awesome little thing. It gives you like a little thought lab that you can, experience yourself in other roles. There's always the boon of the fact that the more you write, the better you get. It's like most things, not all, but most. the more you do something, the better you're probably going to get at it. So improving your writing skills can help you in every facet of life. I mean, from writing emails to your boss to get out of work, or to, get more work done, or from being able to write a letter to your kid when you're old to explain why your life was the way it was so that they understand you. Another good reason is mental stimulation. There's very little that's more stimulating than creating a new world, a new universe, new characters. You get to create your imaginary friend and have them interact and go through situations. And it's just a really cool process. And as you do that, I think that you'll develop your empathy more. You can see the world from different angles, which is hugely valuable. It helps your emotional intelligence. It helps you grow as a person. Another reason that somebody told me the other day is they write to relieve stress. Most of us authors, I won't say all, but I know several who will take a person that they really don't like and kill them off in their novel. Susie pisses you off at work. Hey, the character Susie falls out a window. Your boss Bob is being a pain in the butt. Something tragic happens to Bob in your book. It's this just weird way of kind of a transference of your frustration onto the page so that you don't carry it in your soul. And then there's the concept of creating a legacy. Look at the Dune series, Herbert. His books weren't that big a success when they first came out. And I don't know how long it was. I'll go back and research and see how long it was from the time his books released till they became a cult classic and an icon, that has had several movies made of it. And I'm a huge fan of the Dune series, so it's the first thing that pops into mind. But he left a legacy behind that. Now his son writes the books and other things, and, it's something that was shared. Y'all have to forgive me if you hear some strange audio. Unfortunately, I live in the path of an airplane, and about once an hour, the thing will fly over. And I think it flew over like 10 feet from my house, so the mic probably picked it up on that. I apologize. We're in North Carolina. I have turned off my heater. It is 13 degrees here, so I've given up heat just to be able to record this broadcast, but I felt very strongly that it needed to happen, and I wanted to bring it to you. So I'm sitting here in the balmy 13-degree weather in North Carolina, with trucks going up and down the road and airplanes flying across, freezing my butt off just so I could record this for y'all. Back to the subject. I told you, the squirrels get me. Legacy creation. You get to not only create worlds, but then give them to others. And one of the most ultimate acts of telepathy out there. So we're about to hit the 15-minute mark, which was my goal for the very first podcast. And the audio quality is probably not going to be great. The framing and blocking is probably not going to be great, but it's my first attempt. This is my attempt to grow, to learn, and to connect with more of you. I hope that y'all will take time to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get up to 50 so we can do lives. Come to our Discord. Everything is under Hellhound's Run. Come check out some of my work and my poetry on TikTok. Come out and subscribe to everything. Check out all of our stuff. Come to hellhoundsrun.com where you can read all the chapters of all my books for free. I'm going to be continuing a blog there. So definitely come check out hellhoundsrun.com and become part of the pack. Become part of this. Tune into more of our podcasts. Tune into more of our stuff as I release them. And check out my novels. Nihil and Gates Redemption have gotten Mondo huge, great reviews. And I think you'll really like them. So, as they used to say in radio channels, signing off, I'm Charles Brown with Hellhound's Run. I hope you've enjoyed my very first episode as I sit down in frustration and try to edit all this. I got it all in one take after, 9 tries. And just thank y'all. Thank you for coming out. And please don't forget to hit and like and subscribe on whatever channel you're listening to this to. Y'all have a good day. I'm going to turn on the heat.